Something in your wildest dreams, straight out of a magazine. We show up and we kill the scene. I got what you want, I got what you need. We're moving and we don't look back. So quickly it just might crash. We kill it like a heart attack. We got what you want, we got what you need. Let's go. I'm talking out of control. We got the best show. You're coming with me, cause we bring the party. Let's go. I'm talking out of control. We got the best show. You're coming with me, cause we bring the party.
All right. All right.
Welcome to the Backyard Brawl, your one-stop shop for everything related to Mac football. I'm Todd Worley, and with me is Memphis Spence. We've got an awesome show on deck for you today. We're changing it up a little bit this week. We're with Maction is set to begin. Many of the teams in the MAC have a kind of a mini bye this week, and so because they don't play till the middle of next week, and so what we're doing is we're going to go around the MAC, and we're going to have in-depth interviews we've got 7 of the 12 MAC teams represented by their beat writer here today. So we're really excited to share all that information with you. First things first, though, we're going to go with this week's Backyard Brawler of the Week is going to go to Bowling Green cornerback Jordan Oladokin. Obviously, everyone knows the Falcons had a huge win at Toledo, not only for the conference championship race, but also just that I-75 rivalry. So then in the game, late in the first half, Toledo was driving with a chance to go back on top heading into the locker room. Instead, Jordan Oladokin had different plans. He had the 61-yard pick six to put BG up by 2 scores. And had another interception in the game as well. So the best players play the best in the biggest games, and that's exactly what he did against Toledo. Congratulations to Jordan.
Big time, man. Big time. I'm glad to see that guy. I love to see defensive guys get the player of the week because, you know, I'm a defensive guy, and I love to see defensive guys get player of the week.
That was huge. That was absolutely huge for them, and he earned it, man. Really earned it.
Yes.
We're going to get into, and it's time, man. Let's get after this. Let's do. So we've got, like we said, 7 of the 12 teams represented here. Up first is Toledo. So we've got Kyle Rowland from the Toledo Blade is going to talk to us about the Rockets.
Yeah, let's start it off right with Kyle. Let's do it.
Let's talk about the showdown at the Glass Bowl. Toledo lost a tough one to Bowling Green. What were some of your main takeaways coming out of that game?
Number one, the pick six, obviously I thought was the biggest play of the game. I mean, it seemed like Toledo was driving to maybe take the lead. Instead, they throw a pick six and they go from down 1 score to 2 scores. They did respond with a field goal then right before halftime. But I don't know. Pick sixes, blocked punts are just so incredibly difficult to overcome in games. The win percentage for teams that get those plays is super high. I believe it's in the 90%. But I mean, turnovers, they had another interception, 8 turnovers in their 3 losses. I mean, that's the huge story, I would say. I mean, if Toledo protects the ball, they win. If they don't, they lose. So, I mean, going forward, if they can avoid that, I still think they can win out. Not an overly difficult schedule. I'd say Eastern Michigan's their toughest remaining game. If they win out, I mean, I kind of think it's 50-50 making the MAC championship game. Just the MAC's just complete chaos, I would say, so far. Western Michigan's undefeated, so they're sitting pretty, I would say. But other than that, I mean, who knows? Miami and BG each have 1 loss. But I still think Toledo's got a lot to play for. 9-3, 8-4, I think would be a pretty solid season, considering, entering the year. I mean, they lost 14 starters. They lost the entire offensive line. Quinion Mitchell, a first-round draft pick Penny Boone, DeQuan Finn. I mean, those are massive losses. I think all of us maybe fell victim to the excitement and the potential after the Mississippi State game. But in reality, I mean, I think 9-3 and 8-4 isn't bad when you consider everything they lost coming into the season.
It's a really good point. Really good point. What were the players and coaches saying about how they felt they played, or what were the were they pointing to the turnovers too, or what were they saying were like prevented them from winning that game?
Yeah, I mean, definitely turnovers. I mean, everyone kind of knows. I mean, Tucker Gleason, especially. I think he's been good. I mean, there's a small segment of the fan base, I guess, that wants John Allen Richter to play, and I think he's fine, but I don't think Gleason has shown that he like should not be playing. I mean, he's putting up great numbers. I mean, I know he's had some turnovers, but I mean, he's got 15 touchdown passes. They moved the ball pretty well. I mean, most of that game, even with a run game that was, I don't know, I guess better, but still not great, especially considering Bowling Green's rush defense isn't outstanding. But I would say the overall theme, just massive disappointment. It's not your normal loss. Like, this isn't a loss to Ball State or Eastern Michigan or whatever. I mean, losing to your rival, getting beat by 2 touchdowns at home. It's the second straight time they've lost to Bowling Green in Toledo. So huge disappointment, but you got to get over it because, a week later, you have another tough game, Eastern Michigan, physical team. It's not going to be easy on the road up there.
Yeah, let's get into that. What do you think the keys are to the Rockets pulling out of the win and bouncing back?
I mean, I think this game will be higher scoring, and when I say higher scoring, I mean like in the 20s than the Northern Illinois game. I mean, anything would be higher scoring than that, but kind of similar. I mean, I think it'll be not the prettiest game. I mean, Eastern does a great job of kind of mucking things up. They create a lot of turnovers. That's kind of been a theme under Chris Creighton his whole time there. So that right there, I guess, is an issue for Toledo. I would say Toledo is a slightly better team. I know they're favored by a little over a touchdown. It's a game you should win. If they win, it will follow the trend of win, loss, which they're on right now. I mean, they haven't had a winning streak since September now. So it's definitely one of those kind of get right games. I would expect Gleason to play well. I mean, Jawan Newton right now, nationally, he should be being talked about, I think. I mean, he's second most touchdown catches in the country. Just every week, he doesn't just play well. He has like a career game. He's had his career high receiving yards now 3 times this season. I just can't say enough about the guy. I don't know if eventually Toledo's going to establish a run game at some point this season. I mean, still really has not happened, and we're into November now. So I don't know if you just can't rely on it. But I expect the defensive line to apply some pressure. I think Eastern Michigan is vulnerable in that area. And this is a game where they can, really get some pressure on Cole Snyder, the Buffalo transfer quarterback, and maybe create some havoc.
Okay. Switching gears for a moment, what can you share with us about Toledo potentially making the move to the Mountain West Conference?
I mean, not a whole lot. I know it's still being kind of talked about. Brett McMurphy continues to kind of float it out there that there's discussions. I mean, everything I've heard is it's not overly serious from Toledo's standpoint. I think it's good for them to have leverage on the MAC. It's good to have their name out there. Anytime you can be involved in potentially, making your entire athletic department better, bringing more money in, enhancing the football program, I think it's a good thing. But I would be very surprised if that ended up happening. I kind of think there's a better chance of Northern leaving. But it almost seems like it needs to be a package deal, that it'd be difficult for one of them to go without the other.
Gotcha. What's what has been your sense among the fan base? Do most of the fans want to move, or do most of the fans want to stay, or what?
Yeah, I mean, split. I mean, they've just been in the MAC for so long, and the MAC's been so stable, and you obviously have history and things with the teams you're playing regionally. I mean, you can drive to any game, um, but if they're going to get a significantly better TV deal, and fans think that money can be a game changer for the program, I don't necessarily think they would hate it. I think it would take some getting used to, and I think they would have to be successful if they moved. Obviously, I mean, if they moved and left everything behind, and then the program struggled, I think that would be a pretty bad thing for the fans. But I mean, I don't think Toledo would be out of place in the rebuilt Mountain West. I mean, I think the travel would undoubtedly be difficult. It obviously would work both ways. It would not be easy for, Wyoming and whoever to come to Toledo. But I mean, Toledo's the consistency of the program. They've played some of these teams out of conference. They've won some, they've lost some. So I mean, I don't think they would struggle if they moved.
Right. Yeah. Jason Candle's shown that he can build a sustainable winner from year to year. So absolutely. Great. Let's get you out of here on this. Where can our viewers find your work?
Yeah. ToledoBlade.com. And then I'm on Twitter at Kyle Rowland. Just spell my name out. KYLEROWLAND.
Great stuff from
great.
It is
fantastic. Yeah.
Exactly. Great stuff from him as always. And I really do think Toledo's still in this race. If the Rockets win out, I think they're very much in the race to get to Detroit still. So it's going to be interesting to see how they can bounce back from the tough loss and if they can play well down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Up next, speaking of a team that's playing well right now, up next we've got Cade Hampton, who covers the Ball State football program for the Star Press. And Ball State has won 2 MAC games in a row, including a big win at home over NIU. So really big win for the Cardinals over NIU this week. And then before that, there was a narrow loss to Vandy and then the win against Kent State. So things have, Ball State's won 2 straight MAC games. Talk about the vibe within the program right now.
Yeah, I mean, the vibe is it doesn't really seem like it has shifted very much from the start of the season. I think this team kind of knew they were right there. I mean, you look at their first couple of MAC games, they lost. It came down to the last couple of plays against both Central and Western Michigan. So I feel like this team kind of knew they were right there on the cusp of figuring some things out. And then these last 3 games, like you said, winning the last 2 MAC games and then the close one against Vanderbilt, I think that has done a lot for their confidence. And they just seem to kind of be putting some things together, and just they're continuing to attack everything the way that they've been all season. And a lot of things are just coming together for them now, and they're just really meshing, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Gotcha. I was just going to ask you that. Who are some of the key standouts right now on the offensive and defensive side of the ball for Ball State?
Yeah, I mean, I would say on offense, it's tight end Tanner Koziol. He is the team's leading receiver. He's having a pretty historic season for the tight end position at Ball State. I think if he keeps his current pace, he might break most of the tight end receiving records at Ball State. And, if it wasn't for Harold Fannin balling out at Bowling Green this year, he would probably be the first team All-MAC tight end. But I know Fannin probably is the lock for that spot. But also on offense, Caden Samanza has really impressed me this year at quarterback. He's a young guy, redshirt freshman that they played for, I think, first 3 games or so last year, and then decided to redshirt him. And the offense has really taken a step forward from last year with him at the helm. And then Braden Sloan out of the backfield has also been a pretty key standout player. He's the workhorse back, gets a lot of receiving look, lots of early down, short yardage work. But they've also mixed in Vaughn Pemberton in the backfield a little bit more lately than they have been all season. So
good. That's impressive to see a team stay together like this. I like seeing that. Big one. So obviously Tuesday night, November 5th, Miami comes to town. Miami is very much in contention for the MAC title. Ball State has another opportunity to take down a contender in the conference? And then what do you see as the keys to getting another big win at home?
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as the offense continues playing the way they are, that they can hang with anybody in this conference. I mean, with Samanza and Cozy all clicking, and then the rest of the receivers in that room, Justin Bowick being back has really helped. And then you also got Cam Pickett, Kean Magwood. As you know, as long as the offense, everybody's doing their job, they can hang around with anybody. And then for the defense, they just need to, continue to make those improvements that they've been making, continue to stop the run, which they've been doing very well lately. And then they also need to continue to force some turnovers. If they can force some turnovers and get some momentum on their side, that was another, big thing that the defense, I think, was missing early on. And then, this past game against NIU, I think it was technically a +4 turnover margin, but one of them was like a fumble recovery on NIU's like very last like lateral desperation type play. So, but still like three really crucial turnovers throughout that game that really just kept the momentum on their side. And I think that will be really important. But as long as the defense can, force some turnovers, big plays, and keep getting pressure on the quarterback, I think is also going to be a really important aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be a good game. I'm looking forward to it. Let's get you out of here on this. Where can our viewers find your work?
Yeah, I am online at thestarpress.com, I believe is the website. And that's me. Sports section, pretty much everything you find in the Star Press sports section regarding Ball State and Muncie High School stuff is going to be from me. So that's where I'm at.
Well, anything on social media?
Oh, yeah. Social media, Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter, is Cade Hamp 10 with the number 10 as my so it's like Cade Hamp and then 10. So that's my handle there. And then same thing on Instagram as well.
Awesome stuff from Cade there. Nice to see Ball State. There are a lot of early season struggles and then some close games. So some really tough losses. And then to get to bounce back and really get the ball rolling a little bit here late in the season, that's nice to see.
Absolutely. And Cater always brings some good information too. I love to see like young journalists in here, just, really on top of their program. I love that. Young beat writers.
Exactly. Me too.
Yeah.
Up next, we've got Eddie Carifio, who covers Northern Illinois for the Daily Chronicle, and NIU had a tough loss at Ball State. Might have eliminated the Huskies from MAC title contention, but make no mistake, this team is going to do their best to play a spoiler. The rest of the way, they still have games against Western Michigan and Miami of Ohio. So let's see what Eddie has to say. How are you, Eddie?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, man?
We're excited to be here and to have you on with us. And that beard is plump today, man. I like the look.
Yeah, no, it's having a day, I think. I don't know.
For sure. Let's get to it. So NIU had a big win at Bowling Green. In the last 2 weeks, there have been close losses to Toledo, then Ball State. What happened in the Ball State game?
Wish I could tell you, and I was there, and it was this NIU team has been impossible to figure out all year, and it's a game on paper that they should have won. They were 12-point favorites, and if you look at it, they probably should have been more, given Ball State's weaknesses and NIU's strengths. They were back mostly at full strength. Ontario Brown was available, and they can't move the ball. They don't stop the ball at the least opportune times. And, they celebrate like they're going to win this sucker with 17 seconds left. And then Ball State's like, hold my beer. And their freshman kicker makes a third field goal of 47 or more yards as time expires. So crazy game. The short answer is I have no flipping idea what happened.
So that had to have been a gut punch loss in the sense that you're trying to. I know all these vets on this NIU roster, they see themselves as contenders for the MAC championship, and this was a game they had to get. What was the reaction among the players and Coach Hammock after the game?
Yeah, well, saw themselves as MAC contenders because Hammock just flat out said, "Yeah, the MAC is gone now." So, and at 3 losses, he's right. I mean, you're not gonna in the old division format. Maybe you'd have a chance. of getting in if everyone beat each other up, but that's just I don't think going to happen in this new format. Even 2 losses was probably a little bit of a stretch, but yeah, no, they're the MAC's not happening at this point. They're just playing for the seniors, playing the extended season for a bowl game is just pretty much the consensus out of that locker room after that loss.
Mm-hmm. Looking at the schedule, there's still 2 really big opportunities to kind of play a spoiler. You've got the upcoming game at Western Michigan. Then in 3 weeks, you've got traveling to Oxford to take on Miami. And both those teams are close to the top of this. Western Michigan leads the MAC, and Miami has 1 loss right behind them. Do you see, from the outside looking in, I could see this NIU roster really trying to come together and say, hey, guys, let's play spoiler. Let's have some huge wins to close the season out. Do you see them kind of galvanizing and playing well down the stretch?
Yeah, absolutely. Because this team always does what you don't expect them to do. So now everyone's counted them out. Everyone, I assume there's rumors. Oh, Notre Dame was a fluke, even though that is the NIU game. Just the kicker missed the kick as opposed to the Ball State freshman making the kick. I mean, that's how NIU plays games. They play 1-score games, whether you're a team that's going to make the playoffs or a Ball State team that's going to win 4 games. They play to a 1-score game and hope for the best at the end, and that works in their favor usually. So I think you'll see them, like you said, galvanized behind playing spoiler. I think they have. I think they get the Western game. I think they got a good chance against Miami.
I don't think anyone would be shocked to see NIU go on the road to Kalamazoo and get the W there. I think I could absolutely see them playing their best game of the year in that game. Wouldn't be surprised at all. So with so many, spinning ahead a bit to the offseason, I'm just curious, with so many seniors on the roster, what sense have you gotten in terms of how NIU feels the recruiting efforts are going for next year's roster?
I don't know what coach isn't going to say it, but Hammock absolutely loves the depth that they have. You started seeing some players get some playing time. Lord, I should have written his name down. There's a running back who got his first carries against Ball State, kind of backing up. No, but he got like 2 or 3 carries kind of behind Williams in that kind of Jalen Poe row since Poe's been hurt. He got the couple behind Williams and Brown. Hammock goes on and on about the depth in the running back room, even though we don't usually see it. This was the first, glimpse we saw past those top 3 guys. So that's there. And he loves the depth on this team. And so like you said, there's a lot of seniors. When you have the most seniors in an experienced team, that means there's going to be some losses coming. But, Hammock views this as a developmental program. He doesn't view the portal as their number one source of bringing in players. Number one source of how they lose players, just like anybody else. But, I think we've talked about this, that they mitigate that fairly well. And, hopefully for them, that trend continues. Obviously, a bowl game will be very helpful toward that end. Obviously, getting some wins and causing some havoc against Western Michigan and Miami, closing out 4-0, 3-1 would help retain the players they have, keep them from getting into that portal, especially the key ones you feel that are the future of the team. So that's probably the biggest thing this team's playing for right now is to prove that this team has talent and can be competitive next year.
Of course. Switching gears, what can you share with us about the potential of NIU moving to the Mountain West Conference in the future?
It seems like something like that would have happened. I'm surprised the movement kind of stalled out on that, especially after the Mountain West got up to 8 teams. It kind of seemed that was going to be the piece of the puzzle that would bring in whatever their next move was for some football-only teams to pad things out. Obviously, it's radio silence. It's funny because they just had their winter sports media day. And I know at a lot of their media days, their athletic director, Sean Frazier, speaks, and he was unavailable on at the media day. So they're obviously it's radio silence from the school. I like the move as a football-only thing. I can't see the downside from NIU's standpoint. I know travel is one of the big things that gets brought up, but you're talking 4 games, and then you just play closer to home for your non-conference games, and with the money increase, you don't necessarily need to go chasing a big paycheck in North Carolina or whatever. You can try to chase the big paycheck, from Wisconsin or something. So I think it's a great move. I think it also opens up the other sports to maybe look at a different conference there, something where they could be a little more competitive, something like, one of the valleys or, something like that. I think it's a good move, but I'm sure the chances of it happening are somewhere between none and none.
So you don't think it's actually going to happen?
I get the feeling it's just a lot of talk and nothing ends up coming from it. I mean, I'm famously wrong on a lot of this stuff, so we'll see. But my sense is as fun as it is to talk about and game out scenarios, I don't think it happens. I think that they stay in the MAC.
I got you. Has Coach Hammock been asked about that? And if so, what has been his response?
That has not come up. We have not asked him about it. I haven't asked him about it. It's one of those things as a beat writer where you kind of know the answer that you're going to get. You still kind of usually ask those questions. But honestly, I burn that capital on injuries and stuff. So I don't want to, double burn stuff on, on that as well. for something we know that he has no control over, really, when it comes right down to it. I mean, I think NIU, it's really in the Mountain West's hands, to be honest. I mean, obviously NIU says yes or no, but that's I think a decision that extends beyond football.
Of course, and I'm sure even if Coach Hammock knew and had control, he still wouldn't say anything about it. So you're not getting
absolutely
right.
So I hate not asking because you're not going to get the answer. But like I said, I burn up asking about other stuff that I don't need to, really poke the bear.
Yeah,
even more than after the 12 times I've already poked them.
Right. Back to this upcoming Western Michigan game. Actually, now that you mentioned it, any key injuries on NIU's part that you're aware of?
They see they're going to have their press conference Thursday, so usually that gives some insight. Obviously, they're tight-lipped about what's going on, but it seems that they're healthy. Brown was back taking full snaps. Rudolph was back taking full snaps. I'm pretty sure the line was back at full strength. There were a couple of players that went down here and there, but I think they're for as good as could be expected at this point of the season.
Good. Awesome. Let's get you out of here on this. Where can our viewers find your work?
We're at daily-chronicle.com. You can also check out on Twitter at HuskyWire and at DDC Eddie Carrillo.
Great stuff.
I love it.
Yes, that beard is legendary. And this game at NIU at Western Michigan, just have to think that the NIU players, if they lose the game, I'd be surprised if they don't at least play really well, even if come out with a loss. Just I think they're going to see this as their chance to kind of get some redemption on the season and spoil another team's MAC championship aspirations. Yeah. Up next, we've got Rachel Lindsay from the Buffalo News. The Bulls had a unexpectedly lopsided loss at Ohio University, and then but looking to bounce back this week against Akron. It's been an interesting last 3 weeks for the Buffalo program. The big win against Toledo, then the narrow loss against Western Michigan, and then what happened in Athens last week?
Athens, UB is just jinxed in Athens. They have won one game there since 1997. There was the year 2008 was their last win. And it's one of these, UB could not flip the field at all. They were up 10-7, I believe, after Messiah Birch's touchdown. And then Parker Navarro, Ohio's quarterback, just found his touch. Ohio was able to produce, big gain, explosive plays. They were able to open the field up as well. And they really took advantage of UB's past defense, which has kind of been a question mark, over the last few games as well, too. And when UB got the ball, it was the complete opposite. They just went backwards. They couldn't produce because the running game, even though it was productive, it was not lengthy productive. One thing I was looking at the statistics, they had a lot of negative plays on defense, on offense, especially in the run game, which forced him to put more pressure on CJ Agbana to throw the ball. And he had a very good production. But right now, UB is looking for more balance in its offense as well. And you just can't blame the surroundings at Peden Stadium. I mean, Ohio, they are one of the traditionally strong programs in the MAC. After the game, I thought I would not be surprised to see them in Western Michigan up in Detroit at the end of the year.
They look good. Good. Okay. What was the reaction among the coaches and players after the game for Buffalo?
Shell shocked. I think shell shocked is the right word to say because, they were expecting after, for lack of a better term, after being jobbed out of that fourth down call at the end of the Western Michigan game, which there's still going to be questions. I watched that happen 2 weeks ago, and I said, God, I covered JT was short when Ohio State, beat Michigan in 2016. I just had flashbacks of this again. They were ready to go. They were ready to come in. They were ready to really take control and, even and build off the momentum against Western Michigan, where it was a MACtion game on a Saturday, one of those high-scoring shootout affairs. They're ready to carry that momentum in, and Ohio again just shut them down. So a little shell shock, but at the same time now they're like, all right, we have to regroup. I mean, they had 2 opportunities to win a game, get closer to bowl eligibility, and to kind of carve their own spot in the MAC standings. I mean, it's kind of chaotic in the MAC right now if you look at it. Western Michigan's first. There are 3 or 4 teams at 3-1, 3 and 4 teams at 2-2. Never mind who's going to get one of those top 2 spots in the standings, but who's going to be bowl eligible? Are there going to be too many bowl eligible teams as well? Everybody's kind of got their fate. Every win's going to matter. I hate the cliche, but UB is now like, we've got 4 wins. I mean, I was looking up a statistic yesterday. UB is 0-9 in the last 3 Novembers, and you got to win games in November. So that's the thing. And even this weekend against Akron, that's going to be a test. Did anybody see Akron beating Eastern Michigan this weekend? I was surprised when I saw that. I mean, good for Joe Moorhead, good for the Zips, but that just really speaks to the parity, parity, of this league right now.
Great, so many great points here. So, looking back earlier in the season, Buffalo had got blown out by UConn, but then bounced back, and love the way they bounced back. And so now you mentioned Akron, like this is probably the worst time to catch Akron. Like they finally broke through with a conference win, and you have to think they're going to be sky high and really confident. And so, how do you see Buffalo bouncing back this week after what happened in Athens?
I think what they have to do is really set the tone in that they've got to come out, whatever whoever wins the toss, they've got to come out first, set their tone, whether it's defensively or offensively. Again, string together plays. Third down has been an issue in the early part of the season. They have these third long plays. They have to manage first and second to get to those short thirds. Their third down conversions have gone up as well too. They can't be scared. They can't overlook Akron as well. They have to look for offensive balance, like I said before. Take out those negative plays. CJ Agbana was sacked 4 times in Ohio as well, which didn't help the offense's cause. So it's really about getting that fast start, not overlooking Akron. And again, not looking at the next 4 games and saying, we have to get things done on Saturday before we can move any further. Of
course. And then because we can, just looking ahead on paper here.
Yes.
So with 2 losses, yes, there's a logjam. Obviously, Western Michigan's on the top, undefeated, and then there are 3 1-loss teams, and then some 2-loss teams also. And like to me, I think 6-2, you've got a fighting chance to get to Detroit. I still think there's a lot of carnage to be had. And looking at Buffalo's schedule on paper, it's relatively favorable. You've got Akron, Ball State, Eastern Michigan, and Kent State, all 4 definitely winnable games. Do you see have you got any sense within the program of like, we're still in this thing and or are they just focused solely on Akron right now?
They're focusing on Akron, but I believe personally they're still into this team. I've covered this program for this is my 7th year covering the program. My first year was when Lance Leipold was coaching. They had been bowl eligible in 2017, weren't picked for a bowl, too many 6-win teams, not enough bowl slots. Second year, they were just very, very determined, very resourceful, very much like, we set out this mission, we're going to do this. They went to Detroit, they went to the Dollar General Bowl in Mobile, and that carried 2019. they faced a similar situation. They quarterback Matt Myers was injured. Kyle Van Treese, who lost the starting job, came in, led them to a bowl bid, led them to a win of the Bahamas Bowl. 2020, they ran the table in the MAC. Then Lance left to go to Kansas. And I'm getting no points, so bear with me. One of the things I've seen over the last 3 seasons under Maurice Linguist, and this is no disrespect to Maurice at all, but it was a different attitude in this team. There were times I'd watch the team the last couple of years and they'd be down, double digits at halftime and they'd cash it in. I don't see that out of this year's team. I think the Western Michigan and Toledo game is the best example of that. I mean, I picked Toledo to beat UB, but I keep forgetting Toledo does not do well here in Buffalo. They do great at the Glass Bowl, but not here. And even against Western Michigan, they were down, I think, 35-17. Came back to rally to tie the game, as well, and made that into one of those action shootouts. So the attitude is very different. This team knows, when we're down, we're not down for good. We have the ability to come back. And now what they have to do is do that and finish these games as well. And it's not just finishing. Finishing is about building habits, completing things in practice, the little things that you have to do, the boring things that kind of like are rote, but they pay off in a game. What's the 10,000 hours, the practice and you get it done thing. But I'm seeing a lot more of a difference. And Pete Lembo's really instilled a faith that like he believes in these guys, so everybody else has to believe in each other as well too. And that's not the difficult part. It's just they're in a very, very competitive league. Again, who saw Akron beating Eastern Michigan and Cole Snyder, who used to play at UB, Iowa, I think is one of the most talented quarterbacks in this conference.
Such a big win, and definitely a shocker for the Zips to pull that one off. Let's get you out of here on this. Where can our viewers find your work?
Okay, you can find me on Instagram at @rlenzy_reporter, on Twitter, Rachel M. Lenzy. You can also find me at buffalonews.com. Go to the college page, and all of our coverage of University of Buffalo football will be on there. And I'll be at Akron this weekend covering, I think it's going to be a pretty exciting game.
It's possibly the best press box in the MAC, by the way.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I love that place. Love that place.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you so much for joining us. We always appreciate having you on.
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
she's the queen. She's the queen of Buffalo.
She's really good. She's really good. And you look back early in the season, Buffalo had a head scratcher when they got blown out by UConn, but then they bounced back and played really well the next week. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the Bulls bounce back after that tough loss at Ohio.
Yeah.
And speaking of who the Bulls will be playing, they're going to be playing the Akron Zips. And we've got Drew Bailey joining us. He is a sports director that covers the Zips for WZIP-FM. And awesome to see Akron get off the schneid and get a conference win.
Finally, let's do it.
It had been a tough season for the Zips, and then but they finally broke through with a big win over Eastern Michigan, and that had to have been such a huge relief and joy for the players and coaches, I would imagine. What was their reaction after the game?
Yeah, as you can imagine, like you said, relief. We knew we had a bye week prior to this Eastern Michigan game, and I think the mentality was like now is the time to get a win, to improve, to make progress. If we're going to do anything good with this season or see strides in this program, now's the time to do it. So I think it was a big relief to see that we finally won one of these close games. We've been in a lot of one-score games, haven't been able to get it done a lot. So I think relief and just a confidence boost knowing that we can win one of these close battles in the MAC.
Mm-hmm. Whether it's Joe Moorhead or the players, what have they said about the way they've stuck together? Because it's been a tough season. And then you mentioned that the close losses to Western Michigan and to Bowling Green. And teams can get down on themselves and lack confidence and sometimes splinter out from the inside. What was the key to them staying together and putting a good product on the field and getting this win?
Yeah, I think it's the key to staying together is just staying together, I guess, and not letting yourself get down. I think we've had a lot of games where our offense plays well or our defense plays well, but we've struggled to put together a complete game. So I think the message has been just building each other up and playing complementary football. And I think we were finally able to do that to the highest level we've seen this season, which got us the win one.
Okay, so Drew, talk to us about who are some of the key standouts on both sides of the ball in Akron's win over Eastern Michigan.
Yeah, on the offensive end, I think you got to start with Jordan Simmons. I think he had 105 rushing yards, and the rushing attack, the running game is something that's struggled for most of the season, struggled against Ohio to open MAC play, but that's something that's improved over the last few weeks. Again, Jordan Simmons had over 100 yards. Charles Kellum is kind of the second back. I think he had 55, 56 yards. And Taj Bullock, the backup quarterback, but he's been so much more for Akron than just the backup quarterback. 2 rushing touchdowns against Western a couple weeks ago. Yeah, also had 2 rushing touchdowns against Eastern Michigan this week, both in the first half. He's kind of become the Swiss Army knife, comes in third downs, goal line situations. You don't know if he's going to throw it, but yeah, Taj has been huge for us. And then on the defense, I think CJ Nunnally is probably the guy you have to look to. He had 11 tackles, I think, in that one. Bruno Dahl's another guy, defensive lineman, has been active and has been improving throughout the season. I think he had a sack in this one. But our defensive front played really well in this one for the most part.
Good. So the Zips Buffalo comes to town this week, and moving forward, I would imagine this had to have been a huge boost of confidence to get the win over Eastern Michigan. How do you see this team playing the rest of the season down the stretch?
I think this win against Eastern Michigan, understandably so, is just a big jolt of energy now that we're into action. I think we just needed this to kind of reassure ourselves that we can compete in these close MAC games and we can compete against these other schools in the conference. I think Eastern was 5-2 coming into the game, and we got the win. But yeah, we're home again against Buffalo. And I mean, technically, we're still bowl eligible. I don't know. We're obviously trying to take it week by week, but I'm sure that's something that's on the team's mind. So I think we're confident right now, especially coming off that win against Eastern. Buffalo just lost to Ohio, so I think we're looking to be back in front of our home fans and get another win MAC play.
Yeah, this is the worst time to catch the Zips right now, coming off a big win, and they've got to be super confident and with things clicking. That's awesome. Okay. How is Akron on both sides of the ball injury wise?
I think defense is pretty good. I think Lama Lavea is questionable. I'm not sure what his injury is on the defensive line, but I think he's good to play. The big story on offense the whole year has still been Alex Adams, who was our leading receiver a couple years ago. He hasn't played the entire year. It sounds like, from what I understand, it was a leg injury where he was supposed to come back against Colgate earlier in the season, had a setback. And every week he's questionable is the answer that we get. And it just seems like I don't know what the deal is, but he's not coming back. Ben Finley, I don't know what his injury was, but he kind of I don't know if he got the wind knocked out of him or he was just beat up at the end of that Eastern Michigan game. He came out, talked to Coach Moorhead about that, said Ben met with the trainers and he'll be good to go for Saturday.
Okay, I remember the Ohio State game. That kid's he's a tough kid, man.
He's been beat up on a few occasions this year for sure. But yeah, no, he's tough and wants to be out there, and yeah, for sure he'll be out there Saturday. So
good to hear that. Okay. The rest of the team sees that kid, they can gravitate towards a QB that they know he's going to give everything he's got, and so they need to do the same thing. I like that. Sure. Okay, awesome. Where can our viewers catch your work?
Yeah, I mean, you can go to our X accounts at WZIP Sports. You can follow me at brew_daily. If you flip the letters in my name, look up WZIP FM 88.1. We have an app. If you can listen to us there, you can listen on our website and check us out there.
Yeah, that's Drew's so dialed in there, and it's so impressive it's always so impressive to me when a team just has struggle after struggle after struggle after heartbreak after heartbreak. And then sometimes that can really spiral out of control for the whole season. But then to see them kind of take a stand and get that big win at home, really excited to see how the Zips can play down the stretch here and see if they can put some more wins on the board.
Yeah, and Drew, another young journalist on top of it, he was just like, and he called it out last time he was on. He was like, now's the time where they can actually, get to winning and start turning this place around. He kind of saw like a little bit of some momentum in the program, even though they were losing. There were tiny steps that they were taking, and every time that he came out and gave a report, he would kind of show that. He was like, and he called it last time. Now's the time that they're going to actually do something. So it wasn't much of a surprise to him, even though it was a surprise to me.
Right? Yeah, such a big win for those guys. And then speaking of teams who are on a roll, the Miami Redhawks are on fire right now. Up next, we've got Chris Vogt from the Report Ohio, and no matter what he says, I do think he is, at least unofficially, the mayor of Yager Stadium. That he knows everybody, and he's beloved there. But let's hear what he has to say. The Redhawks are on a roll, man. After the tough loss up at Toledo, Miami's reeled off 3 straight wins, all in convincing fashion. How have they done it? How have they turned it around like that?
Gosh, I'm telling you what, I saw this coming from the Red Hawks just because, you have those first 3 games of the season against, Power 4 programs that sort of get you mentally ready and prepared for MAC play. And they're just getting better. I think they're understanding who they are as a team right now. You got to adjust to personnel leaving and, new guys hitting the field. But gosh, they're starting to click on all cylinders. And I think you had mentioned it prior that after that Toledo loss, it just, I don't know if it kind of woke them up to say, hey, well, if we want to compete for a MAC title, we're going to have to change some things up. And offensively, they're just looking so much better. Defensively, they've been, stellar. Nothing needs to change there. But offensively, I think is what's been most impressive the last couple of weeks. Gabbert's been looking good. All 3 running backs have been great. Davis, Brunson, and you got Tracy. Gosh, it's been really nice. So when you take all things considered, you get 3 in a row. It's hard to stray away with what's been working.
Yeah, and that receiving core is scary. That we've got, Reggie Virgil, you've got Javon Tracy, and K McDonald. I mean, that's a 3-headed monster that's tough to cover.
Yeah, and that's also what's been looking nice. I think Gabbert's kind of settling down. I know that Coach Martin's kind of preached on getting timing down with everybody on the receiving core. And when you get an opportunity to make 1, 2, 3 checks down the field for your receivers, that's a nice thing for Gabbert to have. But gosh, that Javon Tracy had a fantastic one-handed catch this past week against Central Michigan, and just things like that have been going Miami's way. And gosh, it's impressive at this moment.
Of course. What have the players been saying has been the key to this turnaround in the recent win streak?
I think just getting wins under their belt has been wonderful. The morale, post-game interviews with players has been fantastic, as they should be. I wouldn't be happy with losses. But I got to mention this, is that when we're watching Chuck Martin win his 60th game at Miami, you could just see the players were just invested, and they were tuned in, and you could see the support from the players, and I think that makes a big deal. And I can't say that these wins right now are timely, but the win for Coach Martin is a big deal right now, and it couldn't have come at a better time. The 60th win this past weekend against Central Michigan. Everybody is just raring to go, and I only think that this momentum and Coach's 60th win as a Redhawks football coach the last 11 years, it's not going to be good for programs going up against Miami from here on out.
Mm-hmm. What's the mindset now? So 4 games left in the season. The Redhawks control their own destiny to make it to Detroit because they hold the tiebreaker over OU. They play BG. So if Miami wins out, they're going to make it to Detroit. What's the mindset within the program right now as we head down the stretch here?
Just continue to get better. I know that's cliche-ish, but everybody wants to get better. Keep doing what you're doing. Understand that what works is working for a reason. Don't change things up. you can kind of play to yourself. Don't play to your opponents. Play to what you can do, and I think Miami's doing a wonderful job of that. I mean, they had the best offensive performance this past weekend against Central Michigan. So I think they're going to analyze what they did against Central Michigan and then kind of work off that and continue to keep it rolling. But that's kind of been key right now for them to kind of focus on the task at hand here in the future. Maction's coming up too, so it's going to change the scheme, the schedule. I know it's fun to have some games on prime time and on ESPN, but this is tough for programs to kind of adjust to once you've been used to playing on Saturdays.
Of course. And actually, one more bonus question. Is it official or unofficial that you are the mayor of Yager Stadium? Has that been, was there an election, or where do we stand with that?
I tell you what, I do watch a lot of the game, but a lot of the game I am talking too. But I don't think I'm the mayor. There's far more worthy folks that are getting that title. But down south, a little bit further south, Hamilton. Yeah, I might be Hamilton, but not Oxford.
Okay. You're a little too modest, but we'll let that slide for now, though.
Awesome.
Cool. Thanks for joining us, man.
You bet. I appreciate your time. Thanks for always having me on.
Yeah, so I'm going to disagree with Chris. I'm going to say that he definitely is the mayor of Yager Stadium.
Yes, he is definitely. He's the president. We're going to call him the president.
The president. Okay, I like that. Yeah. But man, they had that tough loss. They had the non-conference games where they lost 3 games to P4 schools, and then barely beat UMass, and then lost at Toledo, and then ever since then they've been on absolute fire with not only 3 straight conference wins, but all lopsided fashion. And the Red Hawks control their own destiny. If they win out, they're going to be in Detroit. Awesome season so far.
Yeah.
And speaking of teams that control their own destiny, now we've got Pat Eakin, who covers Bowling Green for the Sentinel Tribune. How are you today, Pat?
Good, Todd. How you doing?
Good. We're thrilled that you're here to join us, and such a big win for the Falcons up at the Glass Bowl. Talk to us about it.
Oh, my gosh. Yes, 30,000 people there. Just a wild environment. Bowling Green played well. They played very well. Terrion Stewart, Connor Bazelak, of course, Harold Fanning, like we talked about, Jordan Oladokin, 2 interceptions, pick 6, 61 yards. Read that perfectly, jumped it. He recognized the play. Everything just about went right for the Falcons.
That's
and
awesome.
What's sad, Todd? I'm a Toledo grad, so that makes it makes a little bit it makes a little bit here or there for me. So, but either way, I'm glad for BGSU.
So, BG's after this win over Toledo, BG's really put itself in good position moving forward. So with 4 games left, if I'm reading it correctly, the Falcons control their own destiny, because if they win out by including a win over Western Michigan, they'd hold the tiebreaker there, and they beat Miami, who would then have a second MAC loss. So what's the mindset of the program right now, heading into those last 4-game stretch?
Well, it's like last year. The team got better as the season went on, and I think that's what you want to see this year. Last year they were down a little bit early, and they had a strong finish, especially during the action weeks. Just cleaned up. And I think the mindset, of course, is strong. You've got a lot of veteran players on this team. And, they were without one of their linemen. They've had a couple players leave the roster. And, Scott Leffler has alluded to some issues in the locker room, possibly with, who knows what. But he hasn't said exactly. He said he'll talk about the end of the year. You and I have kind of texted about it. But the players, he says, are buying in. And they've got the guys they want playing, and Harold Fanning, you got some NFL prospects here. Harold Fanning is definitely an NFL player. Terrion Stewart, possibly. Connor Bazelak, even. I wouldn't throw so far out there. Jordan Oladokin. And you've got a veteran team that's played a lot of football. And Connor Bazelak, went over 11,000 yards for his career. Terrion Stewart, over 2,000 yards rushing for his career, puts him 13th on the all-time list at BGSU. So you've got a lot of veteran players who know what they're doing. And I feel like they had a little bit of letdown. I don't know if something, if there was some noise that kind of, when you're talking to NFL players, you've got a lot of noise around the locker room. But I'll tell you what, these guys, the guys that are playing now are just veterans, and they know what they're doing. And I think they just stay on cue, and I think they can beat anybody in the MAC on a good day.
Awesome. Let's get you out of here on this. Where can our viewers find your work?
It's www.centtrib.com, and you can also go to Central Tribune on Twitter and Facebook. We're a daily print newspaper. We're down to twice a week, but we're posting daily. Right now I'm very busy. I've got an unbelievable amount of teams running regional tournaments in soccer and volleyball and football playoffs. And then Bowling Green, fortunately, we get a week off. So I concentrate on that high school stuff a little bit, but, we'll be back at it with BGSU football here on Tuesday up at Mount Pleasant.
You've got a conference championship race to cover, don't you?
Well, I think so. And it hadn't happened in Bowling Green in a long time. You're right.
Yeah, this is fun, man. This is fun.
Yeah, it is.
Awesome.
It is.
Thank you so much for your time and for joining us. We always love having you on.
Thanks, Todd. Thanks for having me, Todd.
And he is such a wealth of information.
Got more gray than me, man. That's he has a lot more wisdom than I do. So he's a fantastic. I just like to sit down with guys like that and just kind of pick their brain. What have you seen over this program over the years? Because he just has his ability to compare program after program after program, and all that he's done there. I mean, is priceless, honestly.
It is, and then how interesting that must have been for him as a Toledo alum who covers Bowling Green, and then he's been through on the media side. He's been through so many lean years for BG, and then it's got to be refreshing to see them very much in contention for the MAC title this year.
Yeah. I mean, they're tied in the standings with Miami, Ohio, and in Ohio also. So they're right in the thick of things.
Yeah, they went out, they're in it. So this is gonna be a fun 4-game stretch all across the league, and then even the teams who are out of MAC title contention, or at least appear to be on the outside looking in, are still in contention to a lot of them are still in contention to qualify for bowl games. So that's another lucrative pursuit as well. So we're going to see who can put it together down the stretch here, and we're having fun. This is the best time of the year.
Oh yeah. I mean, Western Michigan. If you would ask me at the beginning of the year who's going to be leading this conference, kind of mid to late, October, I wouldn't have chosen Western Michigan, but here we are. The MAC continues to be one of the most unpredictable conferences year in and year out. And in my 15 years of national sports journalism, I can't call. It's so hard to call the MAC and figure out who's going to win in the MAC week after week. That's why I think what you do is impressive in going 11-2, back-to-back weeks. That's ridiculous. As a matter of fact, if you all if you want to go to 11-2, you all need to get into this Backyard Brawl Club. This club, you'll get the information that he goes over week in and week out. You're not going to get it this week. We're not going to have it this week, but we will have it in as Maction picks up. He'll have more Maction picks and whatnot in the foregoing, and you'll see exactly the picks from the former games or whatnot. Get in, ask them questions before the game, and make yourself a Backyard brawler.
Yeah, and if you're a big MAC fan, we have access to so many of the beat writers across the league. If you've got a pressing question you want us to ask, tell us. We'll ask the question, and we'll get an answer for you as quickly as possible, and we'll include it on our show. Maybe give you a shout out as well.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with you asking us a question. If you're part of the club, asking us a question, and then Todd or I will just ask the journalist right out. The journalist may ask the player or the coach. That's kind of how it goes. We're here to make sure that your voice is heard when it comes to Maction. Guys, we had a fantastic show. It's always a pleasure coming on this show with you guys. For Kyle Rowling, Kate Hampton, Eddie Carifalo, the Queen, Rachel Lindsay, Drew Bailey, Chris Vogt, and J. Patrick Eakin. For myself, Todd Worley. Guys, we will see you next week.
Thanks for joining us.